So what was Dr. Carney's father?
He was a businessman, and by God he must have been. He owned that house, private house, down at the bottom of the town beside the bank, at the church, just beside it. It's a lovely house there. He owned that, and he owned that place, Hughes, up beside the chemist, big house there. He owned that. He had a grocery, a bar, and he also ran a bakery. He had land beside the town, and he had another. He had. I suppose he had 30 or 40 acres land as well.
And did he have other children?
I can't tell that now. He had a daughter. He married twice. Andy Carney was married twice. The doctor was his first, and Aileen was to the second wife. She was, I think, only his half sister. But I never heard of any others. Or where he lived before he moved to Errigal. It's quite possible he lived over the pub in town. There.
And Errigal, he bought. He didn't build it. How old would Errigal have been at that stage?
It was a Dr. Muirhead owned Errigal, and he bought the house, the yard, that piece that comes down along the road where from the turn, a meadow under the road, and two other fields, and the rest of it was sold to different people. My father bought 2 fields in it at that. That was 1921, and land was making a good price at the time, but like you wouldn't consider it good now. Land that time was making over £100 an acre. £100.
Back then would have been a lot of money.
I remember it coming down to £250 an acre. What?
Quite a difference. And one of them fields would have been the big field that the hay was made on opposite the road, opposite the road for Kill. That big field.
Yes.
Isn't that one of the fields?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember the kids? You were able to harry the...
I remember Harry well. But you see, you wouldn't... I don't know when. They must have gone... I suppose when they got up, they went over to St. Pat's College in Cavan, and they were out of the area for a lot of the time. You never heard of them much about the town. You'd meet them on the road there, coming out. And I don't know who she was.
Which one? Harry's missus?
The doctor, what her maiden name was, the doctor's wife's maiden name.
I should know that. That's shocking. My grandmother's maiden name, I couldn't tell you. Would she have been from around here?
Did you ever go over to the place in Cavan there? There's a place there you can look up families.
I didn't. It was only up doing some work in
And there's there's a great place in Lurgan.
Right.
Because years ago, this man and his son came over to Ireland to look for the Adamses. And it was Killasherdney they gave as the parish, and he mixed that up with Killashandra. And he went to West Cavan and was looking round that way, could find no Adams. And they were going down Coothill this evening, and they saw Adams up where supermarket is now. And the next day he called in with Austin Adams, and he asked him, and Austin rang me here, say I have no relations in Canada or America, say I'll get the brother to check. So give him the brother's phone number, and he rang up Rickane, and this man came on, and he says, "Are you Joe Adams?" "Yes," he says. "Well," he says, "I opened an old press or something some time ago, and I got a letter written by a George Adams, Rickane Coothill, to my grandfather." "Well, if you did," he says, "that man was my grandfather." And they built it up, went down the north, they built it up, and my brother, he wrote to him here, and Jody wrote back to him, and he put 226 instead of 326, and the letter was returned, "Not at this address." So remember Jody saying he must be dead, but Jody died in a short time after that, and in 12 months I got the book, hardback book, I think with 300 pages in it, from the boy left Kill all that time, joined the British Army, served in India, came out of that, got a piece of land in Canada, built this sod hut for himself. And you see what Adams is in Canada now. Well, now that is, and the Carneys were originally from Dartry. The headstone, you'll get Andy Carney's headstone in Dartry, in a mattress, or in Trinity, graveyard.
Aye, the one down at the monument.
Yes, at the monument. Yes.
Right. Oh, I can show them it anyway.
That's where it is.
You don't know whereabouts in the yard it is, no?
Oh God,
No.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
At all.
And would you, I suppose, thinking the ones closest to me, would you have any recollection of my mother?
Beg pardon?
Would you have any recollection of my mother?
She'd be Harry's sister. She was the youngest. I remember her in Rickane, and I remember old Dr. Carney singing Danny Boy, and an aunt played this piano, and that'd be 90 years ago, or damn near it.
She's 87, 88. My mother now, yeah.
Yes. They were great for playing bridge, and I had an aunt in Coothill, very pally with the Carneys, and if a Sunday evening she'd be out at our place at Rickane, and we'd drive her down on the pony and trap to Errigal. She'd play bridge there, and the doctor would run her in his car. Maybe the following Sunday evening I'd drop at her house, and the Carneys would go there. There were 3 houses that played bridge in of a Sunday evening. I remember that. Oh, she was very good looking.
The mother or the daughter?
The daughter.
Yeah,
She'd been your mother.
that's right. I think she went to school in Rathfarnham in Dublin,
Yes.
at the Loretto. So she would have been a teenager when she left Coothill.
Yes. She'd be leaving here now about, what age is she?
87?
There wouldn't be too many. There wouldn't be one about Coothill would remember her, or that she would remember.
I can remember at various stages getting news of someone dying.
Yes.
And then someone else died.
Well, where is she living now?
In New Zealand.
Oh,
We went to New Zealand in 1968.
yes.
And she's been back to visit a few times. She was back for
Well,
her mother's 70th. That would have been in the
she's
70s.
be the only one of the family alive. Is that right? Any of the boys alive?
There's 2. There's one in Canada. Is it just one in Canada now? I'm shocking on that. I can remember Harry died in the late 1980s.
Yes.
Is there Niall in Canada still alive?
Beg pardon?
There's the youngest, I think, is Niall, one below Mum.
I couldn't tell now about
in
that.
Canada.
I remember she was a small girl that evening that they were in my place. That the doctor sang Danny Boy, and he had a lovely voice.
Oh, so did my mother.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there was music in them, all right.
You must have been. But Errigal is different now. It's just that front portion. The rest is all new built to it.
She saw it. She was back for a holiday.
Yes.
I have 2 kids now. When they were small, God, my kids are 19 and 21. When they were babies, that Mum and Dad visited a couple of times.
Yes.
And on one of the trips, I think the hotel had just opened.
Yes.
But the first time we came up here with them to have a look around, it was the Department of Agriculture had it as an AI station.
Yes. I think who?
And we were able to climb in a window that was left open, and the parquet floor was all ripped up, and it was in a bit of a mess.
It was Gannon bought it from Mrs. Carney.
Who's Gannon?
He was a solicitor. He bought it. And he had it then for a while, and then the EA, I think, bought it from him. And then Dick Woods bought it. And at one time, the whole damn lot, £1,500 would have bought it. It was offered to Pat Collins one night in town by Dick Woods at 1,500 before Dick went to England. But it was a great farm when Dr. Muirhead had it. He was the first. You'd go with the milk, the same as to the cream nowadays, and they had a separator there, and he separated, paid you for the cream, you took the other back. He was ahead of his time, and his farm manager was a Scotchman. They're all decent fields, 6 acres. It's nearly the smallest in it.
Did the Carneys do it? How did they keep up the farm?
No, set it. The Errigal were set, but the man in the town, the old man, kept up his land. Round the town, he had the old Andy. But the doctor, that was always set.
And when did Andy die? Would he have been around when the kids were born there?
Oh, certainly. Andy Carney, he must have only died in the 30s. I'd say that'd be all. He'd walk up from the bottom of the town up to his place every day, and the first thing he'd do is put in a chew of tobacco. And he could chew tobacco, and he could, if it wasn't finished, he could put it to the one side and eat his dinner and have it in his mouth. So you're hearing something about your ancestors. Are you taping it?
I hope so.
Oh my God.
Now this was just by coincidence.
What?
I'm up doing some work in the house, and my cousin Harry's daughter was over visiting us just last week.
Yes.
And she said that she heard that our grandfather probably would have been Tyrone Guthrie's doctor.
Beg pardon?
That Dr. Carney probably would have been Tyrone Guthrie's doctor when he was living in Anna-McCarrick.
Yes, oh, it's quite possible.
And so I just sort of was talking to Richard here, and he said, I know somebody that might be able to tell you a thing or two about your people.
When you want to find something out, there's only one man you go to.
What?
When you want to find something out, there's only one man you can go to.
There came a man here from Scotland some years ago. He spent a day and a half with me. He was reviewing the Aberdeen Angus cattle in Ireland. And the breeders thought I was the best man for him to come to. But the poor fella died since. He spent that day and he took a lot.